Sharia, I cannot see the particular area where somebody will say Islam is discriminating against women. Women are protected even in all ramification, fairly as any other person could be protected.
Okay. Thank you for staying with us. December 2024, the planned inauguration of a Sharia court in Oyo State started to spark widespread reactions on social media. The controversy is as a result of the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria, Oyo State chapter, announcing its intention to establish a Sharia court in Oyo Town and its environs. And by January, just last month, that's the plan. Of course, the council announced an indefinite suspension of the inauguration, and since then there's been intense debate on the project, on the subject. So there are proponents that argue that the adoption of Islamic legal codes aligns with religious freedoms enshrined in the Nigerian constitution. And there is the other set of people who are saying it's a politically motivated agenda designed to create division and consolidate power within certain political factions. Of course, this push raises critical questions. Why now? Why in a region celebrated for its cultural diversity, religious diversity, and tolerance? Conversations this morning we have with our guests in our studios. Mohammed, Iskil Lawal is the chairman, Independent Sharia Panel of Lagos. He's also legal secretary, Muslim Community of Lagos State. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for.
We also have Mr. Dewumi Adebayo, who is chairman, Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, Lagos chapter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me here.
And also joining us from our Abuja studio is Ms. Bao Adetunji, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Ms. Bao Adetunji, sir.
Okay, so let me begin with you, Mr. Iskilawal. There are those who are saying this is much ado about nothing, and there are those who are saying this is a big deal. And what's your position?
No, it's not a big deal because it's a right that has been enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution since 1999. Section 177 of the Nigerian Constitution allows a state that has interest to establish Sharia Court of Appeal. However, the kind of Sharia that was proposed by the Oyo State then was a panel, not a court, and which similar has been in existence in Lagos since December 11, 2002, which I have been sharing since then. And for every time, every hour, every day, we do have cases from Muslims adherents.
Now you need to explain to us, because you said one is a court, not a panel. Now you need to explain the difference to us.
The difference is that the panel is a voluntary coming together of Muslims to bring their matter before those who are learned in Sharia to adjudicate in their personal affairs, personal matters, family matters, marriage, divorce, inheritance, custody of children, and
so those involved just take their matter to voluntarily to people that they believe are versed.
Not believe, they are certified, because we are certified.
Certified?
Yes, I read combined law, Islamic law and common law.
Okay.
We have a lot of us in Nigeria, even among those who are not Muslims.
Okay.
I graduated with those who are not Muslims who read Sharia, even from the southeast. In Lagos here, we have Sharia departments in Lasu. So all across Nigerian university, most of them have Sharia departments, which you are going to be trained Islamically. You have both the English, I practice English law as a lawyer, and I also practice Sharia as a sitting judge in the Sharia panel since 2002 up till date. I have sat over thousands of cases. If I'm to list it, I have gone over thousands of cases in Lagos here.
Okay. Well, Mr. Adebayo, one of the arguments that some people are making is that the Constitution does not recognize a state religion. So, but the Constitution permits individuals to have their religion. So they then wonder if the Constitution is not speaking against itself, that on the one hand you do not recognize a state religion, but on the other hand you recognize certain religions for certain individuals.
That may not be totally correct, that the Nigerian state does not recognize religion or a state religion. At least Nigeria is a multi-religious country.
Okay.
The state recognizes the religion of people of Nigeria, and that's why till today you have pilgrims board. You have even governments.
The question I'm asking is, do we have a religion that says Nigeria is a Muslim state or Nigeria is a Christian?
Nigeria is a multi-religious country. That is what the Constitution says. Section 38 provides for the Nigerian citizens to express their religious thoughts, conscience. So we are talking about what the Constitution says about religion, and even defined up to Supreme Court of Nigeria. Nigeria is a multi-religious state. It is not a secular state as being misconstrued in some quarters, that Nigeria is a secular state. Nigeria is not a secular state. Nigeria is a multi-religious state. Okay, the state recognizes the religion of the people of Nigeria.
Okay. If Nigeria is a multi-religious state, that means that everyone is compelled to
otherwise
have
known as a secular state.
It's not the same.
No, I'm coming. That's the reason for this question. If you are saying Nigeria is a multi-religious state, and you are saying essentially that everyone must have a religion.
No, it's not a must.
But that's what it implies. That's why some people say, look, Nigeria is a secular state, so you can have options. But go ahead.
What people say is different from what the law says. People can say a lot of things based on the level of knowledge that they possess. But what the Nigerian Constitution, by virtue of Section 10, which has also been defined in the case of the government of the Attorney General of Lagos and in the popularly called Hijab case, it's established Nigeria is multi-religious. It was even an argument from the Court of Appeal up to Supreme Court as to the contest as to whether Nigeria is a secular state or a multi-religious state. So there was that argument at the Court of Appeal, which also was re-argued at the Supreme Court. So Nigeria, by definition of Section 10 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is a multi-religious country, not a secular. In a secular state, no religion is recognized at all. The government will not even allow any religion to be mentioned. Like Nigeria, when we are starting any event, either we ask a Muslim to pray or a Christian to pray. It's a recognition of the religion of the people of the country. In a secular state, there's nothing like that. That's why you also have in some establishments, the way they pray, you will not hear anything like God.
Okay. Let me ask the SAN in Abuja. Sorry, I'm not sure. I thought I heard you trying to, maybe I missed your name the other time, if I can just get that out of the way very quickly. Adetumbi, right?
Adetumbi, yes, sir.
Okay.
Adetumbi Musiba.
Okay. Let's clear this once and for all. I'm looking at a dictionary definition now, that the difference, a secular state is one in which the government is officially neutral in matters of religion. But a multi-religious state, I'm trying to take a question from what Mr. Adebayo here said, that a multi-religious state is characterized by the coexistence of multiple religious groups within its population. Which does Nigeria belong?
We belong to the latter. Multiple religions. Multiple religions. Even in this country, you cannot say government does not officially intervene in the issue of religion. remember that the AG Commission is set up by government. The appointment is by Mr. President. The Christian Pilgrimage Commission is set up by the law. So it can't fall into the former. It falls within the latter.
Okay.
Your question.
Okay, that's done.
But be that as it may.
Yes, to the question of to the issue or at hand, or you want to speak on that same issue, go ahead.
No, I want to say something.
Okay.
You see, be that as it may, the fundamental problem in this country is that of a deceptive elite. We try to leave the substance and we chase the shadow. So, but maybe in the course of the discussion, when you ask your further question, I'll be able to expatiate. So please ask that question, sir.
No, I mean, you are probably going there already. The question I just would like to ask is on the subject of the Sharia debate in Southwest. So there are those who have also, and I can put the question to you, that there is a division between whether or not it's really a religious conversation or a political conversation.
Now, first and foremost, kindly note that the most superior book in Nigeria is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. It is the guiding principles. It binds the Muslims. It binds the Christians. It binds non-believers. Section 6 of Section 4 makes it very clear that the only body that has the power to set up any court of law is either a state house of assembly or in the National Assembly. So let us get it clear. Nobody can set up any court of law other than a state house of assembly through its law or National Assembly through its law. The Constitution itself establishes what it calls superior court of law. That's Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, the High Court, the Sharia Court of Appeal, the Customary Court of Appeal. Those ones have been, the High Court of Federal Capital Territory, the National Industrial Court, those ones have been established by the Constitution. No argument about it. The Constitution now gives the power to a State House of Assembly or the National Assembly to establish a court inferior to the High Court. So, when we are talking about Sharia court or Sharia panel, whether with their Muslim groups or their Christian group, no group has the power to establish any court. So, and under our jurisprudency, even up to the Supreme Court, it has been recognized that there's what is known as customary arbitration. The fundamental features of which is that, one, you must submit to it voluntarily. Secondly, you must accept the outcome voluntarily. You may submit to it, you may disagree with the outcome. Nothing is going to happen. You may refuse to submit to it, nothing is going to happen. So in essence, my brother that just spoke said is the chairman of Sharia panel in Lagos. He does not have any power to compel any Muslim to come there. It's a voluntary matter. If I want to go there as a Muslim, I can go there. If I don't want to go there as a Muslim, I may not go there. No law, nobody will arrest me. Unlike when I get a summons from a magistrate court, it's a compulsion. I must go there. As he's sitting as a chairman of the panel, he does not have the power to issue summon. He cannot summon anybody. Not even his own son that is above 18 years that he gave birth to. He cannot summon that boy or that girl to come to the panel. But when it comes to voluntary action, every Muslim has a right to go to that panel. I will call it a religion arbitration rather than calling it either a court of law or anything. It's just an arbitration by the Muslims within the Muslims. So I do not see any need for any noise in respect of this matter.
Okay. All right. Let me bring it back to you, Mr. Nawal. Do you agree with him?
Yes. That was what I said from the beginning, that the panel is a voluntary organization of Muslims for the Muslims. And if you as a Christian, you feel any part of this Muslim law, you want to submit to it, and you come. If you voluntarily come, we will listen to you and tell you our position and the position of Sharia on it. Because many a times people do come for marriages I must be sincere with you. People do, instead of conducting their marriages outside, they come to that court to conduct their marriage. And when they come with their relations. And some of these relations are Christians. And when they see the conduct of the marriage, the questions, the answers, and the method which we apply, some of them ask, can a Christian come to do this? I said, well, if you think our procedure is agreeable to you, you can come. You are free to come. We are not compelling anybody. So that is justice. It's a very simple procedure. And it's known under Sharia.
Okay, let me ask you a straightforward question. So are you for this Sharia court in your state?
Yes, for the Sharia, they call it, you see, it is just a matter of semantic. It is not government that is forming it. It is just the replica of what is happening in Lagos State they wanted to establish there. They just use, because that is what is known to the world. Percentage of literacy in Nigeria may be high, but the people who really understand the content, the meaning which they are trying to give out, it is until they use that language, court. If you say panel, it may not be clear to people, and that is why they said court, but what they really meant is panel.
But you have explained the difference to us. The panel is not, the panel is voluntary.
Exactly, that is what I'm saying.
But the court is not.
Is not.
If I get a summons from a court, I have to present myself on the day that the court wants me to present myself.
That is what we are saying now. The institution that they were trying to establish then was a panel,
not a court.
Not a court. They stated it categorically thereafter that it wasn't a court, it's a panel. So it's just like it's semantic.
It's not from
from the government.
When you say court versus panel, from your explanation, it's not semantical.
It's not semantic.
No,
because
they're significantly different.
Let me clear one thing.
Yes.
Who is establishing that court? The Oyo State. Is it the government or a Muslim body? It's a Muslim body, which is not recognized by the state.
That's the point we're making.
So that is why when the government says it's not a court, or the government is trying to correct them, they quickly came out. Well, we don't mean the court established by the government, but the panel where Muslims will come together to adjudicate on their private matters.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So what they were in Oyo State, what's happening there is actually a form of arbitration, alternative dispute resolution.
Yes.
That is what is being set up in Oyo State, not a court. The mere fact that the word court is used, if you look at the dictionary meaning of courts, you have even estates being called court. You have somebody builds a house and name it.
That is very, very correct.
It's semantics.
However, you have also said in law,
yes,
there is no semantics.
No, there is a difference between law court and when a court is used in other contexts. We need to be, if we are dispassionate about it, whether it is called independent, and even from what you heard from Oyo State, it is called independent Sharia court. Independent, neutral.
It is not affiliated to
government. It is not the institution of the state that is creating it. And it is defined as alternative dispute resolution platform for people of faith to have their matter looked into by those who are knowledgeable in that area. That is what it's all about. It is not a court of law, like Ustaz said. It's a platform where I feel that, because like what we have, what has really brought about all of this is the gap, is what is missing to a Muslim who wants to profess their religion, that yes, I'm a Muslim, I want to conduct my marriage, I don't go to registry. Yes, there's a marriage, there's a dispute, we have issue of custody, maintenance, and what the Constitution says that personal law. If you look at section 2775, which talks about the Sharia Court of Appeal, and the jurisdiction is dealing with civil matters,
yes,
and personal law of the Muslims. It is not, there's no criminal jurisdiction. You don't have it there.
Okay.
It's purely civil and relates to personal Muslim matters.
Okay. Mr. Adetunde, based
Yes,
on
sir.
what
Yes,
they
ma'am.
have both explained now, it all seems like much ado about nothing, doesn't it? If it's all about
Honestly-
a panel and not a court, what's all the fuss about?
Ma, I say something. You see, in Nigeria, politics is everything. Everything is politics. I have told you that we have a deceptive elite. We have so many problems that we are supposed to be dissipating our energy on, rather than this is just a religion arbitration. Probably it ought not to have been called independent Sharia court of appeal or whatever. Maybe you call it independent Sharia panel. And the people too who are antagonizing it, they know that they cannot be forced to that place. They know that they cannot be taken to that place. Just like my brother is trying to explain to you, Section 275 established a Sharia court of appeal. The Constitution said clearly that it should deal with Islamic personal law. The same Constitution now confer the power on the State House of Assembly to give further jurisdiction to that Sharia court of appeal. So, which means that it's only the State House of Assembly that can venture into issue of criminal jurisdiction or not. The Constitution has said it clearly that it's about civil matters. It's very clear. Section 277 confer the jurisdiction of Sharia court on the Sharia court of appeal. So, but if you look at the opening words of our Constitution, it is having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation under God, dedicated to the promotion of inter-African solidarity, world peace, and international cooperation and understanding, and to provide by a constitution. That means that our intention, we set out to live in peace and harmony. If we are to live in peace and harmony, we have to carry everybody along.
Okay. Now, Mr.
We have to
Adetunde,
give rooms.
yeah,
for
that is
everybody.
understood, but
Yeah.
the issue, one of the things that's perhaps giving concerns in some quarters is the issue of trust. You would recall that as far back as of trust, if you can hear me well, I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now, sir.
Okay, good. So one of the issues that's been an issue over the years is the issue of trust. You would recall that it was during the Babangida administration of between 1985 and 1993, 94, thereabout, that the whole idea of Islamization, really got to a head in the country. That was about the time we understood Nigeria was made a member of the Organization of Islamic Countries and Congress. And a number of people have expressed the concern that they have started. You understand? And the fear has always been there that people want to Islam, some elites, as you said, they want to Islamize Nigeria. Now, so whenever this issue of anything that is remotely connected to Islamization, if I can put it that way, it's only natural that people will are edgy. So what's the assurance here that this is not part of the quote unquote agenda that some people are afraid of, in the name particularly of distrust over the years?
You see, sir, let me first tell you the truth of the matter is this: elites are from both across the divide. They are neither interested in Islamizing Nigeria or Christianizing Nigeria. They are interested in their own interest. We play politics with everything. The Constitution is very clear. It's a House of Assembly that is going to can establish any court of law. The National Assembly is the one that has the power to make law. In the National Assembly, you have the Christians, you have the Muslims. As of today in Nigeria, the president of the Senate, to my knowledge, is a Christian. His deputy is a Muslim. How can you now talk of Islamization or Christianization in that regard? It is extremely difficult. Our elites, they know. But politics is a bitter game in Nigeria. And they know that the way the commoners can be carried along is for them to play politics with our life and with our religion. When Sharia was said to be established in 1999, the criminal aspect, or thereabout in Zamfara State, the then president Obasanjo came out and he labeled it as political Sharia. You and I should judge whether the man has spoke the truth then or not as of today. If really we are interested in Sharia, even for the Muslims, in Kano alone, how many out of school children do we have in Kano? Are we addressing that problem? How many do we have in Oyo State? How many do we have in Lagos State? Are those children going to grow to be either Christians or Muslims, or are they going to become criminals? Which is neither useful for either the Christians or the Muslims. So, but everything is politics in our country. It's not about trust. People are deliberately creating problem where there should be none. I have told you that up to the Supreme Court, there's what is known as customary arbitration, where you must, one, submit to it, and you must accept. I can go to Sharia panel, they can give their findings, and I said I'm not going to accept it, and I will head to court. So, and we all know this. These are very clear from our constitution.
Okay.
It's clear, it is there.
Okay.
But we leave the substance. We are making noise.
Okay, Mr.
People can gather in the church and say come for arbitration. People can gather in the mosque and say come for arbitration. If you don't really want to play politics with it.
Okay.
So the issue of trust it arises because of politics. We are playing politics. Remember that Babangida that you mentioned did not want to go, and he needed to do something that we used to divide the society, and he did it. Simple.
All right, Mr. Lawal, there is also that issue that some people have mentioned about, okay, is it that Nigeria's established courts are inadequate to resolve the issues, which is now necessitating a Sharia panel?
Exactly. You see, marriage in Islam is a religious duty, a religious responsibility, and everything that goes along with it. You see, Islam is a very detailed religion that talks about the whole of your life, and your personal life must necessarily be guided by Sharia. What will you tell me if a Muslim who married 4 wives had problems, or the wives had problems? They need to go to settle their dispute in the court, which relates to the number of wives. What court is going to advocate about that? Is it the Christian-oriented court, which is our regular court? Because it is, the common law is based on Christian doctrine, which does not recognize multiple marriage, or the customary law that does not have provision of how to manage 4 wives. Because apart from marrying 4 wives, there are rules that guides it. So if I'm coming, if any of those matters comes up, those who are in the customary court that doesn't know anything about Sharia, how would they be able to manage it? That's number one.
On a quick, my apologies, on this issue that you just raised, if memory serves me right, my grandfather had 2 wives.
Yeah.
So the culture, Yoruba culture,
we're not talking of marriage under customary law. We are talking of marriage under Islamic law. There are rules that guides how you manage your 4 wives. So if those rules is being infringed, which law are you going to take it to?
Okay.
Which court? The customary law does not have such rules.
Okay.
The High Court does not have such rules. So it is only Sharia court that can have such rules.
Okay. And
it is only in Sharia court. That is why we have done cases. Even it was raised by a non-Muslim at the customary court, where Muslims took themselves to the husband and the wives were Muslims, and a non-Muslim was their lawyer, was the lawyer to the man, and he raised issue of jurisdiction to that the marriage conducted by the 2 parties can never, issues, conflict about it can never be adjudicated on by customary court, and the High Court upheld it. In another case, Ubaduma versus Adika, very recently, the High Court also upheld the family court that gave judgments in respect of Muslim marriage, said you do not have that jurisdiction, and sent them to Islamic panel which we sit in. You understand? Our cases have gone to High Courts, our cases have gone to Court of Appeal, our cases have reached up to Supreme Court.
But what happens, let me ask, my apologies, yes. What happens in a case where the husband is Christian, the wife is Muslim, or vice versa?
Or the other way around?
Yes.
It would depend on what type of marriage was conducted. A marriage conducted at the registry is governed by the Marriage Act.
Exactly.
And the dissolution of that marriage can only be in the
conventional
court.
Because it's a marriage under the Act.
Okay.
If it's a marriage that is not under the Act, now depending on, is it Islamic marriage or customary marriage? If it is Islamic marriage, both parties who wants to dissolve the marriage are at liberty to approach the independent Sharia panel in the state to say, we want to dissolve our marriage. And that is the only place where the issue as to how the children have to be looked after, the custody of the children, who takes custody.
So it's
depending on this, it's a choice
to go there.
if the marriage is conducted under the Islamic law.
Now, you talked about customary court. What is the difference between customary court and traditional marriage?
The Islamic marriage is unique.
I'm asking. I'm not.
The customary is like you mentioned that your grandfather had 2 wives.
Yes.
I don't know whether it was under Islamic law or the customer. The way, like we are Yorubas, the way marriage are conducted with take dowry.
Is that customary?
That is customary dowry ceremony.
I just want to be clear.
Traditional.
That is traditional marriage.
Okay.
Right.
Islamic marriage is a totally different set of marriage.
Here's a comment from a viewer, Festus Akimboyowa. Do we know if majority of Muslims in the Southwest want Sharia? How are we sure that the women will not be discriminated against in Sharia court or panel? Whether it is a court or panel, they will hear cases and give judgment. Mr. Dayton, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, let me comment on.
Yes, please.
That's what I'm saying. You see, to his first question, do we know whether the majority of Muslims, do they want Sharia? It is the House of Assembly that will determine that. If they are simple majority, they are able to pass a law, and assent is given to that law by the governor, then there will be a Sharia court of appeal for such a state, because the Constitution has said that. So that's how you can determine whether majority want it or not, because when you do vote for them. What really is talking about whether panel or whatever that they do give judgment. As a panel, the first thing they do, what you call judgment in law, is adversary. When the two of you now agree to that pronouncement, because it's an arbitration, it's a religion arbitration, it's like a customary arbitration. When the two parties across the divide now agree to that pronouncement, it becomes binding, and that is voluntary. Whether I'm going to agree to it or I'm not going to agree to it. The person, just like what my other brother is trying to explain, a Muslim who is practicing his religion and who has that right under the Constitution has a right to practice that Islam, including his marriage, succession, will, and other personal things. So it is only either a Sharia court of appeal or the lower Sharia court, which they do call either they have the lower Sharia court mostly in the north, that will be able to say, to make a binding pronouncement. That one will have force of law. The Sharia panels that is being set up in the southwest will first be adversary. It's going to graduate into binding. It's going to have a binding force when the two sides across the divide now say, okay, we agree to your pronouncement. After they've agreed, you cannot go back and say you are not doing it again. Even if you go to confessional court, you will be stopped from saying, oh, I'm not accepting it. But from that procedure, you can see that this thing is voluntary.
Okay.
Before Babangida era that my brother mentioned, or even long in time, when I was growing up in secondary school, in the 70s, in the 80s, even in the 70s particularly, in the village, we used to relate perfectly without making this so much noise about the difference in religion or whatever. If you establish a Sharia court of appeal in Oyo State today, you cannot force any Christian to go there. That is number one. Even a Muslim who says, look, I'm not going to marry under the Islamic law, you cannot force him to go there.
Yeah.
A Muslim has a right to marry under the act, because this is a heterogeneous society. You have the fundamental human rights.
Okay.
We just need better explanations. And we must understand that if we are to grow this country, there must be tolerance, there must be peace, and there must be love.
Indeed.
Tolerance, peace, and love.
Indeed.
That is how we can grow this country.
Okay.
I will give
another
another example of making this noise about nothing. Look at the hijab case that my brother referred to. The argument in that case, those people that they said the man, because the lady is an infant then, or she was an infant, said, let my child use hijab. She does not say, let the child of another Muslim brother use hijab. No, she said, my own child, let her use hijab. What are we arguing about?
Okay.
That one.
All right.
Okay.
It's not about your own children.
So we're running out of time, Mr. Adetunbi.
Yes. And there's comments from
we
viewers,
that from High Court to the Supreme
and this
Court.
is one of them. This is from Monsuru Olani Ogundikwe. I am not against Sharia law. The fear is people don't know much about the positive aspects of Sharia, except the negatives we see from our brothers in other parts of the country, where hands and legs are cut off, where one is stoned to death because she aired her view on a topic. I don't know in Quran where Prophet Muhammad ordered that someone should be stoned to death. Some operators of the Sharia make it appear as if Sharia law is terrible. Even in Saudi Arabia, ladies now are allowed to drive, they now watch football matches, they put on trousers. Sensitization is required so that people will know Sharia has a lot people stand to benefit and not the other way around as it is being propagated in some parts of the country.
Absolutely. You wanted to say something, sir?
Yes. From the last comment from the what was said,
yes,
that women may be discriminated against.
Yes.
In fact, Islamic law is the law that protects women most, and that is why before a woman marries, it must be with the consent of his guardian, not necessarily not unreasonably withheld, because she's going into another family. So you don't just, because you are a matured woman, you just go and then you just go and marry out yourself without the protection of somebody from your family. That's number one. Number two, rights of women are enshrined out in Sharia completely. Because women dress with hijab does not mean they are being discriminated against. Allah sees women as precious creations, that their exposure of some parts of their body may call attention of some individual that may want to unnecessarily take advantage of them. Now say, well, you do this. After you might have done this, then he cannot have excuse of doing this. That is not discrimination. It's to protect her. And some other areas,
and to buttress that enlightenment, like the commentator said,
yes,
hitherto people do not know about Islamic finance. Now we have Islamic insurance, we have Islamic bond, the central bank, Islamic bank. We have projects being financed by Islamic products, and these establishments, these products are all enjoyed by Muslims and non-Muslims. It's about knowing about it. When people don't know about it, that's where the phobia may come in. But now banks are there, insurance are there, road project bonds.
You have to come for a marketing drive.
Institution is indicting you all, our panel. It says even members of your panel are using court and panel interchangeably, and they insist Sharia is a panel and not a court. They are as confused as the rest of us.
I cleared that. Whether it's called panel, like Delena said,
yes,
the proper word to be used is a panel. It's an alternative dispute resolution platform. Well, because we are Nigerians, people can use any word, and it is context that we are talking about.
Okay.
In the context in which the word is being used, what is actually meant.
That's another conversation altogether.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Adetumbi, your final thoughts on this, because we are out of time.
Well, my final thought is just to appeal to all of us, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you don't believe in anything, to know that there must be tolerance, there must be peace, and there must be love. We should recognize the fact that we need to grow this country. We should recognize the fact that we need to develop our economy. Saudi Arabia, you call it an Islamic state, yet it's seriously developed. What are we doing? So that as we are paying attention, we can live together in harmony, and we need to do that. Otherwise, we will all suffer for it.
All right, thank you so much. Well, Professor Enakena says, insofar the sudden zest for Sharia in southwest Nigeria is neither contrary nor hindering the constitutional jurisprudence or its adjudication, is not superior to the administration of our judicial processes as enshrined in the Constitution in Nigeria, and it is not going to infringe on constitutional rights of non-Muslims, and they feel it will enhance the economic empowerment of the Southwest. So be it. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time this morning. Mr. Iskil Lawal, Chairman, Independent Sharia Panel of Lagos, and Legal Secretary, Muslim Community of Lagos State. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Dewumi Adebayo, Chairman, Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
As well as Mr. Musbao Adetumbi, who is a Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts this morning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for us.
Okay, so now we know, as you started by saying, there are much ado about nothing really. So, but there is something else we will give much ado about when we return from this break. Stay with us.
Well, we are now being joined by Imam Muqtada Ajibowo, Executive Member, Muslim Rights Concern, to discuss the controversy over attempts to introduce the Sharia penal system in the Southwest and the intensifying pushback against it. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Now, there are fears in some quarters, that this plan or the panels could lead to the imposition of Sharia law on non-Muslims and also undermine the secular nature of Nigeria. Can you please react to this?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say that the issue is not about establishing Sharia court in Southwest. What we are talking about is Sharia arbitration panel, but maybe because of deliberate misinformation or ignorance, that's why people here and there shouting imposition of Sharia law or Sharia court in Southwest Nigeria. It is never about Sharia court, but Sharia arbitration panel. And when we're talking about arbitration panel, arbitration generally is one of the methods of alternative dispute resolution. And in this sense, arbitration panel is a process whereby neutral individuals are chosen to resolve a conflict between two or more parties. And when we include the word Sharia, it means we are talking about resolving the conflicts in line with Sharia principle. that is if the parties involved are Muslims and they are willing to use Sharia principles, because it is not something that we can force on any Muslims. It is willingly. Even someone is a Muslim and is not willing to use the panel to resolve conflict, nobody can force him, not to talk of non-Muslims. And this panel we are talking about is there to look into the issue of the civil and marital issues among Muslims. And this is a command in the Quran, the holy book of the Muslim, the Quran chapter 49 verse 9, that if two or more parties are quarrel, if there is a quarrel between two or more parties among the believers, we must make peace between them. And that is what we are trying to practice according to Section 38 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which allow every person, either alone or in community of people, to practice his religion and to practice his faith. So that is what we are talking about.
It's interesting, but thank you for the enlightenment on that. It's an arbitration panel, yes, as you say, but it still has some elements of legality regarding this scenario. So isn't that a challenge to establish judicial system which more or less caters for all Nigerians irrespective of their religion, minding the fact that it's a choice by the Muslim faithfuls? What if they do decide not to, go the Sharia way?
You mean the individual?
Yes, the individual.
So I've said it is something that they are not enforcing it on them, even though they are Muslim and they are not willing to go in that Sharia way. So, as a Muslim, even though if we have many Muslims who are not observing Salats, and no one can force them to enter the mosque, many Muslims, as a Muslim, if someone decided not to observe the fast of Ramadan, we don't have any enforcement, any power to enforce the law on him. So the same thing happened in this regard, that there's nothing like, it has been in practice in Lagos State here for more than, like 22 years back. So, and we've not had any issue like enforcing or forcing someone to appear in the arbitration panel. So I think there is no cause for alarm in this issue of arbitration panel.
Now, earlier you talked about, misinformation causing all this controversy.
Yes.
But according to a prominent figure in southwest Nigeria, that's Gani Adams, he says Sharia law as practiced in the north has become a tool for politics and intimidation, which cannot be allowed in Yoruba land. So is this debate really about religion, or is it about politics? And is it really about misinformation, like you have said?
Well, there is misinformation in it. The misinformation there is that to say practice of Sharia law, that is misinformation. What we are saying is, the initiative they are bringing is Sharia arbitration panel. That is misinformation to say Sharia law.
That is the first step to Sharia law.
No. He is not a Sharia scholar. Chief Gani Adam is not a Sharia scholar. So that is, you see, the issue of having an arbitration panel is an age-old practice in Islam. Even though we don't call it arbitration panel, it is a practice that whenever Muslims in the community, in the mosque, are having issue, they go to the imams, the scholars, to resolve the issue. I myself, in my mosque, some members of my congregation, when they're having issue in their business, It's a personal, they'll come to me.
Okay, so it
and we will
goes
solve
beyond
it.
marital issues, because people have a right
It's
to know
about
that.
civil and marital issues.
Okay, civil and marital.
And marital issues.
Right.
And the politics there is this. Whenever we are talking about, Islam, we are not talking about Hausa Fulani. We are not talking about North. Islam has been established in southwest Nigeria as far back as 16th century. I could remember vividly that the first mosque in Lagos State here, let's not go far, was built in Lagos Island, Idoruwo Mosque, in 1775. So if people could come together and say, let's build our mosque, it means the Muslims have been living in that community for decades before they can come out together to build their mosque. So, and there is no way Muslim will be in a settlement without them practicing Sharia. You cannot pray without Sharia, you cannot fast without Sharia. And that is why there's one common saying among the Yorubas. They will say, Agbesin magbofin, Ota Olorun. Accepting Islam without the rules, enemy of God, is because they understand what is Sharia as far back as then.
Very good. And on that note, we'd like to thank you very much for that enlightenment. It's still a topical discussion and it's too fluid. Imam Murtada Ajibo, Executive Member, Murik, would like to thank you for coming to the studio. It's good to have you with us.